All right, so we are back, and in today's video, much like my beard, feeling a little shaggy. No, not that shaggy. What I mean is Shaggy, Scooby, and the rest of the gang driving down the road in the mystery machine. In other words, I'm looking for a clue. I'm looking for an answer to the question of, who's KSI's next opponent? You guys remember back a couple weeks ago or days ago, I don't quite remember, the times are running together like a three-legged race. We talked about who KSI's next opponent could be. We named Dylan Dennis, we named Tyron Woodley, we named Dr. Mike, but I don't think any of those guys are going to be it. In fact, those names have faded away over the last few days more than an Allen Iverson jump shot back in 03. But there is one name that's starting to creep up. It's on Twitter. People are talking about it on YouTube. Mams Taylor, KSI's manager, has actually said this would be a fight people may want to see. So hit my drum roll, please, because it's a name you're all going to know? Maybe? Joe Fournier. If you don't know, Joe is apparently a former basketball player, a guy that was a personal gym instructor. The guy was a personal trainer and then owned a couple gyms and apparently sold those gyms off, or the properties of them, became a multi-property mogul, invested in a bunch of stuff, made a ton of money, and decided while doing that he wanted to box. And from that decision, he's gotten some wins. He's been in some pro fights. He's won pro fights. He's undefeated in his pro fights. But does that tell the whole story? Is Joe Fournier a big-time, huge name for KSI, credible opponent, someone that's going to take KSI to his limits, or is he just an average Joe? Breakdown, let's go. Okay, so Joe Fournier, this is KSI's next opponent. What are the good things, the bad things? Well, the good thing is he's 9-0, right? That record speaks volumes if you just take a look at that record. Like, wow, he's won 9 fights, undefeated. That for KSI's legitimacy would be great, right? And I only put quotes up because, not the bunny ear stuff and because I'm trying to sound like an asshole. I'm putting him up because the legitimacy is really nothing when it comes to boxing. When you dive into that record, much like most boxers that start their career 10, 15-0, there's not a lot of substance there. Joe is a decent boxer. I would say better than decent. Joe can box. There's no doubt about it. He has some skill, but take a look at the records. You're talking about guys with 2 wins and 24 losses, 11 wins, 41 losses, 0 wins, 1 win. These things aren't necessarily new to boxing, but he still does have some skill. He's still a big guy. He's still apparently a big name, big enough to be on Triller's card twice, once against, again, some musician that I don't think had ever boxed, but the other time was against David Haye. And say what you want about that fight. I know David Haye was not being David Haye as far as going in and trying to murder this guy who was apparently a former sparring partner of his, but Joe Fournier went 8 rounds with David Haye. We're going to talk about Logan going the distance with Floyd. I get it. Different circumstances. Floyd was there to hurt Logan. Him going the full 8 with David Haye is a big accomplishment. And no, he lost, clearly. And he got dropped with a jab. And it wasn't competitive really at all. David Haye did exactly what he wanted to do with him. But dial it back a second. It's David Haye. What do I think about Joe? I think he's a good boxer. I don't think he's a world beater, but KSI shouldn't be fighting world beaters. He should be fighting competitive fights. We talked about this before. So what does Joe do well? Well, he works the body and comes upstairs with it. Good combinations. He understands range. He does throw a nice jab. Defensively, there are some holes. He did walk right onto David Haye's jab. It was a sunset walk on the beach, but that'll happen when you face higher level guys. He does look like he wants to put pace forward, but his gas tank, especially now being closer to 40, is a little bit of an issue. And I don't want to hear anyone saying anything about his age because this is still a competitive fight. At the end of the day, Jake Anderson, KSI Joe Fournier, KSI Tyron Woodley, those are competitive fights. And sure, the age will factor into it, but so will the inexperience and ability of some of our YouTube boxers. The scale tips both ways. My point in all this to say is, Joe Fournier is a credible opponent for KSI. Yes, he's beat up on some trash cans. That's, again, part of boxing. It happens. I'm not going to go over every time someone has a great record against guys that are trash because it's the sport. It's what happens. I don't like it. You don't like it. It is what it is. But he's right there with, I would say, the most competitive guy KSI could fight right now, and that is Tyron Woodley as far as who presents the most danger to KSI. I think Joe, with his experience, with his ability to actually box, again, not the best in the world, but he can get in there and get it done. He's knocked out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, 7 guys, TKOs. So yes, he has power. Yes, he can put it on you. Yes, he can throw combinations. Yes, he can credibly box. And if you're KSI and looking for a legitimate challenge, and guys like Dylan Dennis, who apparently apparently is trying to go rogue on Bellator, and Scott Coker had no idea he's trying to sign contracts because, well, that's what he said in a press conference. Or a guy like Tyron Woodley, which it doesn't look like they're going to try to pursue that fight. Maybe they are, I don't know, but hasn't been a lot of talk around that. And again, we do have a lot of time until January, but maybe they're waiting for Slim and seeing what happens with him and Ryan Taylor. Same thing with Dr. Mike. But if you are going to go the route of Joe Fournier, I can't say I hate it. In fact, I would be down for that fight because it provides competition, credible, legitimate competition at KSI's level, or maybe even a challenge that KSI maybe wouldn't see with some of the other guys, which again is what you look for, stepping up the levels. And apparently he's a big enough name to bring in on a main event scene like that. It doesn't really matter though because it's KSI. He could be fighting the fucking janitor or the local mailman in the middle of the ring while filming the video for Summer Is Over, and people will still pay to watch. And talking to KSI, I know he wants to get to Jake. I see his mindset. I see his hunger. You guys, you may not see it, but I've talked to the guy. He genuinely wants to get there, so you're going to have to do it through competition. Maybe not the biggest names, but KSI's name is bigger than anyone else's. Joe Fournier is a great option. Is he the best? I don't know. That's for you guys to decide. So let me know down below. But the question will still remain. KSI's next opponent, who's it going to be? Don't have those answers, but January's coming soon. Summer's over, but winter's here, and I guess we'll find out.